Bismillah. Welcome back, Zoo Crew. So I'm dressed up because I was out and about running some errands. And obviously, I decided to pick the coldest day of the month to do this. It's literally like negative 30 outside. And I'm wondering, like, what the hell possessed my parents to move to such a cold country? It literally feels like Winnipeg out here. And yeah, it is what it is, you know? So over, I guess, like a few days ago, somebody reached out to me and was like, yo, can you give me some advice about credit? So I was like, all right, yeah, for sure. And this relates to what we were talking about before about attention and influence, right? If you have a personal brand and you know how to build attention or capture attention, but you also have influence, opportunities will present themselves to you. And this is like one of many opportunities that have kind of just presented themselves to me. And now I'm at a point where I have to kind of evaluate the opportunities because as much as I want to say yes to everything, there's only so much time and bandwidth I have in a day, right? So I can't be saying yes to everything. It's like in the Matrix when Morpheus asks Neo, like he's explaining something to Neo and he's like, "Oh, were you paying attention or were you looking at the lady in the red dress?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was looking at the lady in the red dress." And then he's like, "Look again, but the lady in the red dress was actually Agent Smith, right?" So shiny object syndrome or just being distracted by new opportunities, you have to master the art of saying no. And for somebody like me who is generally a people pleaser, saying no is a very hard thing, right? Because like I feel like I'm letting the other person down, even if that's not the case, right? And then outside of this, like the other thing we were talking about is like if you're just freely giving all your time away to somebody, they're not going to value it, right? People don't value things that they get for free. And one of the main, I guess, points that I could make to reinforce this idea is my ebook. I gave it out for free to maybe like 5 or 6 people, and none of these people have read the book, right? And I think it's because it was given to them for free. And then even from this group, there were like a few people who had asked me previously for help on credit, and they still didn't read the book. So people don't value things that they just get for free, whether that's your time, that's your energy, or like a book or literally anything, right? So as much as like I would love to just give away this book for free, I don't think anybody would really value it if I just give it away for free. So I do have to determine the price that I'll sell it at because it should be substantial enough that like people feel okay, yeah, there's some value in this, right? But yeah, I guess today we can talk about credit. So first things first, you should download these two free apps, Credit Karma and Borrowell, right? So if you go to a bank or you go to get a car or any of these things and they check your credit, they do what's called a hard pull. So when somebody does a hard pull, your credit score will go down. However, Credit Karma and Borrowell will check your credit, but it's a soft pull, so it's not going to bring your credit score down. And these two check both of the different credit bureaus, right? So Credit Karma is TransUnion and Borrowell is Equifax. So you'll notice on one app you might have a different score than the other app, right? So first things first, download both of these apps and they're free. Now the second thing is let's discuss secured credit versus unsecured credit, right? So unsecured credit is going to be a credit card, it's going to be a line of credit, a loan, something like this, right? And then a secured credit would be like a secured credit card. So a secured credit card is essentially like you put $500 on it, like you give it to the bank, you put $500, and then they issue a credit card for $500, right? So they're not like putting their money at risk. And then other forms of secured credit could be a house mortgage, car note, whether that's the lease or a finance, etc. Right? And then so outside of this, we have revolving credit or installment credit, right? So revolving credit is like a credit card, line of credit, etc. Installment credit is you have a fixed payment, so that would be your mortgage, your car payment, etc. Right? So for somebody starting out, let's say you have bad credit and you want to increase your credit score or you want to just build credit, right? The easiest way to do this is with a secured credit card. So you go to the bank, you give them 500,000, whatever the amount you have, as a secured credit card, and then you use that and then you pay it off, right? And you do this a couple times and you'll see your credit score starts to go up. And the main thing is you want to pay off your balance or keep it less than 30% of the total amount before the statement date, right? So when the statement date goes, you want to have either a clear balance or just under 30%, right? Between 10 to 30%. Because the banks make money loaning you money. So their whole business model is loaning you money. Okay. Now, another way you can go ahead and boost your credit score. This only works though if you have family members or a close friend with a high credit score, right? And somebody who's had their credit account open for a long time. So you'll ask them to add you as an authorized user on their credit card that they've had for the longest time, right? And you don't need to get the card. You can tell them just cut the card in the mail. And after like 2 or 3 months, you can just remove yourself as an authorized user. The reason you're going to do this is because now their credit history and credit profile is going to show up on your credit profile. So if they had a credit card open for 20 years, now that's going to show up under your credit profile, right? If they have like 780 to like 800 credit score, that's going to help boost your own credit score, right? And so like, again, like this you can only do if you have somebody in your close circle or like your family that is willing to help you, first of all, and has a good credit history and credit score, right? And then the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to open a line of credit. Most banks will give you a personal line of credit for up to $50,000. And when you call them, what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, look, I have XYZ credit cards and I would like to apply for a personal line of credit for $50,000. And my reasoning for this is because I want to lower my overall utilization rate and I want to be paying less interest and I want to have multiple trade lines or types of credit under my account, right? So this is doing a few things. First of all, like, let's say you apply for 50K, but they don't give you 50K and they just give you 10K, right? Automatically now your overall credit utilization is going to go down by that much because you have access to more credit, right? And now the other thing it's doing is you have different kinds of credit. So this strengthens your overall credit profile, okay? And then the third thing you're going to do is, so let's say you have a credit card for $1,000. Now you got approved for $10,000 line of credit, right? So you'll like, don't increase your spending. Obviously, like if you have bad habits with money, like don't do any of this because it's going to fuck up your credit and you're going to dig yourself into a hole you'll probably not get out of because credit, it doesn't care about you as a person, right? It looks at your behaviors and your patterns and it acts accordingly, okay? So assuming everybody watching this has good habits with their money, right? What you're gonna do is, let's say you use your credit card and you have like $1,000 spent on it and you make enough money to, first of all, clear off that $1,000, right? This is all hypotheticals we're talking about. Now you're gonna use your line of credit to pay off the $1,000 on your credit card. Then you're going to use your checking account to pay off the $1,000 you just put on your line of credit, right? This little trick is going to boost your credit score by like 20 to 60 points within 1 to 2 months, right? But again, do not go and apply for more credit until you've fixed your own habits and patterns regarding money and credit, right? Credit, like it's good. It gives you access to capital. So if you're in a bit of a pinch, it's there. It gives you breathing room, right? But don't think of it as though like you just have this extra money that you can just spend and never have to pay back, because that is not the way to go about this, right? And then the final piece is anybody who's an entrepreneur, if you try to start a business and you try and go get a loan for your business, it's very hard to do, especially if you're just starting out. You don't have a track record, you don't have any accounts receivable, and you don't have any assets or anything, right? So people think that, oh yeah, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to get a loan. Most times you're not going to get approved for anything because it's too much risk, right? And there is a workaround to this though, right? It's very easy to get a business credit card. So instead of thinking like, oh, I need to go get a business loan for like 20K or 10K or whatever without having built any business or without having any income, just apply for a business credit card and use that, right? But again, I would not suggest you do this until you are actually making money, right? Because as much as people say like, oh, you need money to make money, that's all bullshit. Real entrepreneurs make money without money. They know how to pull money out of thin air, right? They're creating value and getting paid for it. And there's so many different ways to go about doing this. Like, what's a good example? Costco is a good example, right? All of these businesses give them their products on consignment. So consignment means you're getting inventory without paying for it. And then once it sells, you split the profits, right? So Costco fills their warehouse with all of this merchandise from different retail suppliers, different brands. And then when it sells, they split the profit, right? However, the real way Costco makes money is through its memberships, right? So the point being, true entrepreneurs know how to make money from nothing, right? They're resourceful. They just pull money out of thin air. So again, these are like simple tactics you can use for building your credit and strengthening your credit, because having access to credit is never a bad thing, right? So long as you have dealt with your own internal shit and you don't carry these bad money spending habits with you into the future, right? Because credit is something nobody gets taught about in school. In my opinion, that's by design, because really it is leverage, and leverage is freedom, right? So the system doesn't want you to be free. The system wants you to be dependent on it. However, there is also good debt and bad debt, right? So if you're using your credit to buy garbage that you don't need, or just materialistic things, that is bad debt. If you're using your credit to build your business or buy tools for your business or inventory or assets, that becomes good debt, right? And this is why this whole saying of your house is not an asset is the case, right? Because when you buy a house and you have a mortgage on it, that is not an asset, because every single month you're taking money out of your pocket to pay the mortgage, to pay the insurance, pay the property taxes, pay the utilities, etc., right? Whereas now, if you were to go use that same money and buy a commercial property or buy a business, let's just stick in terms of real estate, like a commercial property, that property is going to get rented out. That rent is going to be considered income. That income is going to pay your mortgage payment, your property taxes, all of your other expenses, and then it's going to put money in your pocket, right? So this is all very simple stuff. And so it's simple, but it's not easy. Do you know what I mean? So anybody can do this and anybody can learn about this and implement this. But the thing that holds people back is, first of all, their mindset and their habits. So if you have bad habits when it comes to money, I recommend you forget everything I just told you in this video and fix your habits first. If you have good habits with money, then by all means go and do this, because if you have a higher credit score, you're going to get better interest rates. You're going to get better insurance rates. There's a whole multitude of benefits that you get from having good credit, right? And we're not even talking about like the reward systems in credit cards, using your points to travel, using credit cards to get into lounges and all of these things, right? It's a huge, huge topic, which is why I started with this book. And the plan for this book is I'm going to sell it for X amount of dollars. I have to decide that still. Over the last like week or so, I was debating just giving it out for free as like a lead magnet to build up my following. But then I realized like nobody's going to read it if I just give it for free, because I already proved this to myself. I gave it away for free to multiple people and none of these people read it, right? So I'll sell this for some amount. And then depending on the feedback I get, I'll put out like a version 2, or I'll put out like a more advanced version for different things that you can do with credit once you've built your foundation, you know? So yeah, I mean, all in all, I guess that's really what I just wanted to talk about today. It is like 6:30. So apparently there's like a UFC fight going on, and Sufra Lounge is going to be showing that, so I might just pop on over to Sufra. But again, it is like super cold out, and I don't know if I really want to go outside again. So I don't know, we'll see, you know? You'll find out tomorrow what I ended up doing, because when I did go out today, there was an intent behind it. There was something I was trying to do, but the plans didn't fall through. So I'm just like debating if it's even worth it to go out again, or if I just like chill out and hang out at home, you know? Because prior to me coming and doing this video, like I ate some food and then I was playing some Apex with my cousin, and that got me thinking, like, since it's cold out, maybe I'll just play some Halo tonight on my own. But who knows, you know? Life is good. There's many opportunities, many blessings, and we're just moving forward, you know? And really, that's the only way I can truly honor my relationship with Mina, you know? Because I don't think she'd want me to be like depressing or just like sad and like not doing anything. And like, really, the more I think about this, the more I'm realizing that I became off center. I became off my purpose. I became lazy. And as much as I wanted to like blame her for this, it was myself. Like, I didn't have enough strength to stay on track. I didn't have enough discipline to stay on track, you know? And like, yeah, I wanted to enjoy my time with her, but at the same time, like, I'm a man, so I should have been focused on like what is going to move me forward, right? Sitting around watching One Piece, like, sure, it was fun, but like going to the gym was more important. Working on my business was more important. And like just maintaining all of my routines and like taking care of myself was more important, you know? And that's why now I'm kind of at peace, because it's like I know how much I like cared about this girl. I know how much I loved her, and I know that like it was genuine love from my end. And I it's confusing because certain days I would feel like, yeah, she like does want to like she does love me, but then certain days I would like question everything. And I guess it was my own insecurity, because I was like, oh, like, what is she doing with me, you know? Like, I'm not worthy of this relationship or of like this love. And then, like, don't get me wrong, like, we did have like a bunch of fights over like stupid shit, but I think it was just that neither of us had the tools to like communicate properly, or like conflict resolution, or like repair, you know? And we would just get caught in this cycle. And then like both of us were so worried about being abandoned by the other person, or like rejected by the other person, that it became like a self-fulfilling prophecy where like one of us is running away or pushing the other person away, you know? So all in all, like, I did learn a lot about myself and like relationships and women being in this last relationship, you know? And of course, like, I miss her, and of course I'm like sad it's over. But the thing I'm most sad about is that the way it ended, right? Because now her last memory of me is going to be, again, like that weak, pathetic, insecure version of me, not the stable, grounded, masculine version. And there's not really anything I can do to change that, you know? So I guess, like, if I have any regrets, that's my only regret. And moving forward, like, I will become everything I told her I would be, and I will achieve all of my goals. And really, that's the only way to honor the relationship, you know? And like, at the same time, like, my dad is like, oh, like, why are you talking about her in your videos and stuff? Like, when you end up with somebody else and like they come across this, what are they gonna think, you know? And it's like, really, like, there, I have no shame in talking about this, because like she was an important person in my life, if not like the most important person in my life. And like, losing her, each time like I lost her, was forced to grow and like reflect and become a better person, right? So that's, I guess, the other confusing part about this, because it's like, was it that we weren't a good match? Because when we were together, I would kind of shrink or like fall off path, or were we actually good together and it's just that like I wasn't strong enough to maintain the relationship, you know? So who knows, really? But the point being, like, somebody who's going to come and watch this, like, if they go from day 0 to day 90 through all of the content, they'll see like this was the journey I went on. Even if it's like some girl that I end up with in the future, like, it just proves to myself and to her that like I'm capable of loving deeply, I'm capable of caring deeply. And sure, I am a flawed person, but all humans are flawed. There's no such thing as a perfect person, and there's no such thing as a perfect relationship, right? And I was willing to always make it work. I was always willing to kind of just keep going and never give up. You know, I'm not the one who gave up in the end. And I'm sure maybe she won't agree with that, but like it is what it is. At the end of the day, like I tried to patch things up. I was always the one really trying to patch things up and hold things together. I mean, so to be fair, the last kind of fight we had, she did come over and wanted to talk, but I wasn't in the right headspace to talk. I was just not stable. I was going through a lot of shit. And like I pushed her away and then I kind of went off the handle. But at the same time, it's like we were together for almost 2 years and I spent a lot of time, energy, and money on this relationship, like investing in this relationship and making it work. So I proved to myself like how I am in a relationship. And if she couldn't value that or appreciate it and like was just willing to walk away over like one argument, then it's better that we're not together. Because if we had gotten married and then we had like a disagreement or a fight and she wasn't capable of like having this mature conversation, it would have been much worse for me in the long run, right? And yeah, I mean, like, if she was feeling overwhelmed, which I'm sure she was, she could have just said, hey, look, I need space. Can we talk about it later today, right? Instead of just stonewalling or just disappearing or like using the silent treatment, right? So, as much as like I do love her and like I loved her, she did emotionally abuse me a lot. And I think I was just very forgiving about this because of how much I wanted to be with her, right? And I think I crossed the threshold from wanting to be with her to needing to be with her. And then that became like unattractive for her because she was probably feeling smothered or overwhelmed or pressured or whatever. And then that started to create like resentment in me. And again, it's like neither of us were communicating what we needed from the other partner or what we were expecting, right? And it got to a point where like we couldn't read each other's minds as much as like we were always kind of on the same wavelength and kind of knew what the other person was thinking. Like no two people can just read minds, right? So I think all in all, it came down to a lack of proper communication, a lack of repair and conflict resolution skills, and then like a lack of willingness to be understanding or empathetic or selfish, I guess you could say, right? So it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, I doubt I will ever see her again. And I doubt things will ever work out or she'll come back because anytime we broke up, I was the one who always was initiating the repair. I was the one always going back, right? And it was like, for me, like I'm thinking like, do I really want to be with somebody who can just walk away and just block me everywhere and act like I don't exist or didn't exist and like whatever we had didn't matter? And the first time that I went through this with her blocking me everywhere, I was questioning my own self-worth and I was like, oh, like did this really not mean anything? Like what the fuck just happened? But now I'm at a place where it's like I understand this is just how she copes with shit and like doesn't know how to process or feel her own emotions or the negative emotions. So I don't hold it against her, but it like at the same time, like it doesn't make it okay and it doesn't make it any like easier, I guess you could say. Like, do I agree with it? No. Do I understand it? Yeah. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like I wish her well and I hope she's happy with whoever she ends up with. And Mina, like if you're watching this, I hope you know that like regardless of whatever happened between us, if you're ever in like a situation and you need help or you're dealing with some kind of a problem, you can always reach out to me and I will always be there to help you, even if we're not together, just because you were an important person to me. So yeah, Zoo Crew, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.